one of the higher positions in the stadium for the main camera. And it's Argentina, not in their home kit, get us underway. Caro Martinez leading the line, Thiago Almada and Giuliano on either side of him. The expectation among the majority is of a comfortable Argentina victory. We will see. They have chosen a lot of lesser lights as their opponents this year in friendly matches. Iceland still to come on Tuesday. This is Valentin Barco. Comfortable winners in the qualifying table. Argentina, and one of the favourites, defending champions. Here's Barco. Otamendi captaining the side, playing alongside Lisandro Martinez. Cristian Romero's on the bench. Argentina trying to get a shot on target before Honduras have had a touch of the ball, but that's now changed with Christopher Melendez picking that one clear. Celso. .83 degrees at kickoff. Conditions not a problem for either of these two nations.
That's pretty comfortable for College Station this time of year.
Yeah. There's a fair few Hondurans in attendance as well. Joseph Rosales. One back by Honduras with Edwin Rodriguez. Through ball looking for Derek Moncada, just too much. And a first touch for Juan Musso. Still no Emi Martinez. He's being rested tonight after his travails in the Europa League with Aston Villa. His clubmate John McGinn was playing earlier today for Scotland, but Emi Martinez rested. Juan Musso gets the nod.
That's one player, Juan Musso, who will not be starting against Algeria. It will be Emiliano Martinez.
Well, indeed. There's a few subs for Argentina today who are not going to be in the squad of 26, but they might get a run out tonight. Coach Lionel Scaloni also has to decide who's going to replace Leonardo Balerdi, the Marseille captain who's been ruled out of the World Cup because of a calf problem. Starting at right back today is Agustin Hiai. Honduran coach was the Spanish #1 goalkeeper in the Euros in 2000, Jose Molina. Lo Celso. Bypasses Barco. Switch by Almada. Caliafico. Out by Arriaga. I would say the pitch is okay at best, not much better than that. Here's Otamendi. Give and go from Almada, but he didn't win it back, and Honduras have themselves a free kick.
We're not even 5 minutes in, and we can already tell what the dynamic of this game is going to be like. A lot of possession for Argentina. Honduras just trying to condense the space as the swinging out of Simeone gets the face on a Honduran player. It's going to be up to Argentina to be able to speed up that possession in order to open up spaces against Honduras. Honduras will be more than happy to just sit behind the ball, hopefully win the ball in a good area, and perhaps go on the attack in some sort of transition. As for Argentina, again, the responsibility is on them to speed it up.
The only time Honduras have scored against Argentina, they actually took the lead at San Pedro Sula back in January 03 through Saul Martinez, but Melito, Lucho Gonzalez, Mariano Gonzalez with the goals, giving Argentina victory there, like they've done in the previous two. For the diagonal, it's too much for himself. Giuliano, who played majority of the time on the right-hand side in a 4-4-2 for Atleti. He's played a lot of games this season, and that maybe had something to do with the end of their season just falling down a little bit after their exit from the Champions League. Poor kick out from Menjivar. Shot from distance, and the goalkeeper kind of redeems himself.
And it's again Giuliano Simeone, who, as you mentioned, is playing on the left-hand side tonight as opposed to the right-hand side, which we usually see him play for Atletico Madrid. Straight ball from Mengíbar onto the path of Giuliano Simeone, and Honduras just kind of dropped off. Simeone decided to, you know what, maybe I'll just have a go. Mengíbar ends up coming up with the save. Honduras dropping off, no pressure on the ball, and hits it well, takes a bounce in front of Mengíbar. Mengíbar has to react, full stretch, gets a touch on it. Good save.
Got one back by Barco. Sandro. To thread the needle there, Barco. He's more often than not on the left-hand side for Strasbourg. It is.
Hey. So I'm going to guess the stadium is seeing what we're seeing.
Yep. Unless Palomo is deciding to take a bow. Got that caught between his feet a little bit. Kaza. Nicely done. Benguche. There were a few anxious people when Messi decided that he needed to be substituted playing for Inter Miami a couple of weeks ago.
And for good reason.
Of course.
Argentina is still built around Lionel Messi.
Celso for Giuliano. His pass doesn't get to its intended target. Again, he's heavily involved.
Now, they can be a very competitive team without Lionel Messi. But with Messi playing at his best, even at this point in his career, he can still give you that moment. The special sauce, the special moment of magic that can open something up for you in the latter stages of the competition. What you need to have from Argentina is that nucleus of players, that core group of players that works around Lionel Messi is willing and able to put that same amount of work rate that they did in Qatar. If they're able to do that, Argentina will have every opportunity to win this competition.
Does he play every minute of every game?
Well, if I'm an Argentina fan, I would suggest, I hope not. I hope that there are moments within a tournament that is a longer tournament because of the number of teams that are playing in this competition, that there is a chance for Lionel Messi to be able to take a few minutes off here and there. But that's going to be his decision and not so much Lionel Scaloni's decision. And I think at this point in his career, Lionel Messi does a very good job of understanding his body. And you'll see Lionel Messi for long periods of time walking around the field. A lot of the fans would kind of say, well, he's not running, he's not sprinting. And perhaps what fans are unable to understand is that he's just finding his moment. He's letting the game come to him because he's not in a point in his career where he has to go and chase it. Rodrigo de Paul will have to go and chase it. Ezequiel Palacio will have to go and chase it. Enzo Fernandez will have to go and chase it. As for Lionel Messi, he allows the game to come to him, so that when it's his responsibility to give that moment of magic, he is ready, able, fresh, legs are ready to go, and explosive enough to be able to do it.
Honduras down to 10 men for now. Kervin Arriaga, having received treatment for a back problem, been told he's going to stay off for 60 seconds by the referee. Plus, Argentina's group, Algeria, Austria and Jordan, they shouldn't need Messi to play 90 minutes in all three of those games.
Assume not. But then again, they, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, they did lose to Saudi Arabia to begin the World Cup in Qatar. So, on paper, it's a very accessible group for Argentina. It should be a comfortable group for Argentina, which then should make it a comfortable minute for Lionel Messi.
Giuliano. And the diving header from Lautaro is well clutched by Menjiva.
It's good build-up down the left-hand side. Good driving of the ball by Palacios. Brings the defender towards him. Good ball into the box, and Lautaro Martinez attacks it well. Hits it straight into the ground, and Heward comes up with a save.
Well, one back. Rosales. Rivas. Pressure by Hiai. Interesting point you made about Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia. Then they went on to win the World Cup. In 3 of the last 4 World Cups, the defending champions haven't even got out of the group. France, the exception, they made the final in Qatar. Prior to that, Italy, defending champions from 2006, didn't get out of the group in 2010. Spain, defending champions from 2010, didn't get out of the group in 2014. And Germany, defending champions from 2014, didn't get out of the group in 2018. Strange things can happen.
They can. However,
yeah, not that group.
I am comfortable in suggesting that Argentina will get out of their group in this upcoming World Cup.
Yes. This is Thiago Almada. He does thread the needle. Nice turn by Lo Celso. Yai. Good block, but Lautaro at the second attempt. It'll be a corner. Could have been a lot worse for Honduras.
Again, good build-up. Lo Celso does well in getting himself turned away from pressure, understanding where the space is and where the run is coming from Agustin Hiai. And from there, it's a good cross. It's good contact initially from Lautaro Martinez, well blocked from Honduras. And then I'm thinking Lautaro Martinez is looking at the uniform Honduras and saying, yeah, that looks like our uniform.
There you go, Lionel, tap in. Oh. First corner.
You asked at the beginning of the game about the importance of this match for a few of these players.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the 2022 World Cup, say a guy like Enzo Fernandez, he wasn't starting to begin with. They lose that initial game to Saudi Arabia, and some changes needed to happen for Lionel Scaloni, and he was one of those changes. And you think back to the sort of World Cup that he had. I wonder who the equivalent of that player is in this team currently that we're watching from Argentina. Who's that guy that is going to come in and make such a difference like Enzo Fernandez did, or McAllister did in that World Cup for Argentina?
Battling away to try and win possession. Down goes Lo Celso. Down goes Simeone. Play on, says the referee. And Lisandro wins it back. Palacios. Moving it quicker. Moving it well. Barco. Hiai. Another corner. I spoke to you about Lionel Messi. How long will he play? Hopefully we get the chance to see the young man Nico Paz. the season he's had. Serie A with Como playing in the Champions League next season under Cesc Fabregas. Quickly taken and overhit for Nicolas Otamendi.
Yeah, the problem that Nico Paz has is
everybody in front of him.
Lionel Messi.
Yes.
What a season he had. You mentioned for Como, and the confidence with which he played, the creativity, productive, scoring goals, scoring big goals for Como, and just overall a source of creativity for that team in the attacking half. I'm just not sure as to how many minutes, how many productive minutes he will have during the World Cup if Messi is indeed playing the majority of those minutes.
Battling from Rigoberto Rivas, but he's not getting what he wanted, and that's a throw. Quarter of an hour gone, it's goalless as expected. Most of the ball with Argentina. No way through just yet beyond Angiva. Sakasa. Melendez.
I know we've spoken quite a bit about Argentina, and you mentioned it briefly at the open about Honduras and how their qualification process fell apart towards the end. And you called it interesting. That's because you're a nice guy. The other way to describe it is
a disaster.
A disaster, a total collapse from Honduras late in the qualification process. And it wasn't just that they finished second in their group, is that they didn't even qualify to the playoff.
Yeah.
Suriname, let me repeat that. Suriname, they qualified to the playoff instead of Honduras because of goals scored. So the collapse was dramatic. And to make it even worse, when they were tying the game 0-0 against Costa Rica in the last day of qualification, they played for the draw thinking that that was going to be enough.
Yep.
They were wasting time late when they needed to score a goal in order to make sure that they qualified. They thought that they had secured the playoff. They certainly did not. So it was not only a collapse, but an embarrassing collapse at that.
And one diagonal, and here's the opportunity for Rivas. Well defended. Rosales. Opportunity here, and not too far away. Best chance of the game so far for Honduras, and the strike was from Edwin Rodriguez.
It doesn't take a whole lot from Honduras. It's a diagonal ball that kind of turned Argentina around. They are able to win the rebound eventually. Edwin Rodriguez just jumps on it, puts his laces through the ball, just can't quite keep it down. Courtesy dive from Juan Musso. 0-0.
Am I allowed to say who Suriname faced in the Intercontinental semi-final, or is it still too soon?
No, you can say it. I don't know how I'm going to react to it, but you can say it.
Bolivia.
How did Bolivia do today against Scotland?
They were thumped 4-0.
Oh, good to know.
That's all our goals used up. I remember sitting in a booth with you. Can't remember what game it was, and we were talking about Venezuela being at the World Cup. Hopefully, because you started so well. And then Bolivia's victory over Brazil in the final game.
Combined with Venezuela's loss against Colombia.
Right by Team Barco.
Yeah, no, I haven't turned the page. It's a good thing that I haven't let it go yet.
There's an opportunity on the counter for Honduras. Luis Palma. Looked a good tackle by Barco. Referee agrees, saying the ball was won. They've still got bodies forward, Honduras, so it could be problematic. Not a good ball in for Lautaro. And away comes Moncada.
And I agree with Lautaro Martinez. As Thiago Almada is driving with this ball forward and Simeone has made the run out wide, just play it out wide. And then that allows Lautaro Martinez to set up his run inside the 18-yard box, away from the defender, expecting the cross coming from Giuliano Simeone. Thiago Almada decided to go with a ball squeeze between two defenders. This is a good tackle from Valentin Barco, gets there in time, wins the ball back.
"20 minutes gone, goalless." This is Rivas. Started to come into this game a little bit more. Honduras, it would have been a foul. Referee playing the advantage. Now, Moncada with trickery and pace. No end product there for Benguche.
It's not the worst ball from Moncada. He puts it in between the defenders. It is then the responsibility of Benguche to try to split the defenders and get there ahead of Otamendi. He does not. It's going to be very difficult for Moncada from that sort of angle to get the ball around Otamendi and into the back post. Benguche could help him a little bit more.
Excellent close control to begin with by Lautaro. He feels he was fouled. He wasn't. Honduras come away with it and then give it away. Scaloni, the coach, clearly was asked about Messi at the press conference, said he'll get some minutes, whether it's this game or whether it's the game against Iceland in Auburn, Alabama on Tuesday. Supporters that have paid a lot of money for tickets for this one are hoping it's the former rather than the latter. And for those that have spent a lot of money to go to the game in Auburn on Tuesday, they'll be hoping it's both. Here's Celso.
Tell you what, Argentina are doing the college tour.
They are, right?
Texas A&M, Auburn, not bad.
National teams in college towns. Great to see. Chattanooga as well getting into the World Cup spirit.
Oh, no.
You know what it is. This cooling break is brought to you by Gatorade.
Yeah.
It's hot, Ali. It's 83 degrees.
These cooling breaks are going to kill my spirit during the World Cup. I'm telling you right now.
What was quite funny last week, Scotland played Curaçao at Hampden. It was freezing. They had a cooling break because that's what all these Road to 26 World Cup friendlies have to have.
And they will have it at the World Cup, and everybody's sort of trying to get used to it and what have you.
As a coach, instead of two halves, it's basically 4 quarters now. Does that change in any way your setup?
I suppose this is the equivalent in basketball of a 20-second timeout, if you will, maybe in that regard. It depends how the game is going. If you're flying and you have rhythm and you have momentum, you don't want to stop, regardless of how hot it is. If you're struggling and you're under pressure, yeah, you'll stop. You'll stop for as long as they let you stop. I don't know how much a manager can influence decisions on the field while the game is going on, so I suppose a cooling break allows you to have conversations more detail with the players and kind of deliver a fresh message that perhaps is different than the message that you deliver in the locker room.
Yeah, it's a little easier when you've got a predetermined opportunity to deliver a message to everybody you want to, rather than pass this note or speak to the guy on the far side, tell him I need that to happen. 20 Hondurans, even more Argentinians in attendance at Kyle Field in College Station. Not quite as many here as came to see the King of Country, George Strait, in the summer of 2024. 110,000 tickets.
You mean all my exes live in Texas? Oh, man.
Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo will set the record of playing in 6 World Cups, which is quite incredible. I was doing a piece for ESPN.com with Craig Gordon, one of the 3 Scotland goalkeepers, who's the oldest player in the squad. And we were talking about Ronaldo, and we worked it out. Portugal have to get to the final in 2030 for him to become the oldest player ever in the World Cup by 6 days. He'll be 45 at the time. Nice little flick from Lo Celso. Kiai. Well dealt with by Rosales.
A little bit of patience there from Agustin Kiai would have allowed him to see that while Valentin Barco had made that run in behind, that had taken a defender with Barco and had opened a pass into Lautaro Martinez, who had the inside position on the center back. You play that ball, hold up play for Lautaro Martinez, you follow your pass, and now you're cooking if you're Argentina.
Foul. Remember a few months ago when there were questions because Lionel Messi refused to confirm that he would definitely be playing this World Cup, to see him in the squad. There was never any doubt, was there?
Well, no, but I would argue that after they won the World Cup in 2022, if there was a time to walk away from the national team, it would have been then. But once he started playing qualifiers, and you're going to go through the struggles of qualifying and the long road that it is qualifying in South America and CONMEBOL, then the reason that he was going to put himself through that was because he was going to play in the World Cup. Otherwise, you say, muchachos, take care, buenas noches, I'll see you guys later.
Celso. 2 players making the same run there, Almada and Barco. No harm done. This is Lisandro Martinez. Ezequiel Palacios. Kind of playing without that striker when Lautaro goes wide. Giuliano would come in field. Cross-in's comfortable. And then Hiva.
I'm going to tell you, I'm not loving this Giuliano Simeone in the left-hand side.
No. Just looks wrong.
And I think for him, he's a guy that depends a lot on activity. And that activity comes natural to him down the right-hand side when he can just run back and forth. And it's in that activity that he creates chaos defensively for other teams.
Well, who does it be now? Well, Molina of Atletico Madrid that will start at right back. More action for you tomorrow. Road to 26, presented by Turkish Airlines. Morocco-Norway, 2:55 on ESPN Unlimited. I'll be joined by Diego Fires for that one. Norway had probably the best team photo prior to the World Cup. Next up, Vikings with the longboat. They'll do all right in this World Cup. Morocco in with Brazil.
And?
Haiti.
And?
Scotland. It's our second game. Brazil start against Morocco. To begin with, new world rankings are going to have Brazil in 6th and Morocco in 7th. New world rankings are going to have Argentina at number 1, ahead of Spain and France. A lot of the ball, but looking for a little bit of inspiration. Lo Celso
Somebody's got to shoot the ball, Mark. The moment this ball is laid off to Lo Celso, just hit it with your right foot. I know you're a heavily left-footed player. If you're Lo Celso, just hit it. Take your chance. Take an additional touch that allows Honduras to get numbers around the ball. They get crowded out. Opportunity gone, danger gone.
Well, they got the shot off early doors from distance. Giuliano in the 7th minute from 25 yards, but that time just overplaying. Here's Rosales. Well, it should be a booking, and it is. Sometimes referees in friendlies might just say, come on. There's no real opportunity to let that one slip.
Valentin Barco just gets the wrong angle. Once he gets on the wrong side, Joseph Rosales takes a touch around him. There is no other recourse other than fouling him.
He's looked lively. They just need to give him more of the ball, Derek Moncada. He's football in Colombia. He's one to watch. He's just 18 years old. He might need a little bit of treatment.
I think he got the Lisandro Martinez treatment, who went with a swing and a miss on the ball, but he might have gotten quite a bit of Moncada.
Barco's left. Honduras fans in the crowd whistling in the hope that the player can get treatment.
Yeah, he got a whole lot of him, Lisandro Martinez. In real time, I felt like the swing and a miss by Lisandro Martinez was a swing and a miss on the ball and a whole lot of Moncada, and there it is.
You were spot on. When he's ended up off the field, he's then hobbled back onto the field and gone down. He's clearly hurt. And Honduras are asking, where's a free kick? And when there's no play, the attention turns to the man who's currently sat down, Lionel Messi. And the chants emanate from the stands.
Tell you what, under different circumstances, I may be sitting here telling you that Lisandro Martinez could have been in danger here, but given that it's a friendly, it may be dealt with differently. He gave him the full trim. That ball is long gone, and
there.
He kicks him higher than the knee. Derek Moncada actually does Lisandro Martinez a favor in that he didn't go down initially. He just kind of popped up and then went down. Let me just say that if he had sold that differently, maybe the referee makes a different decision.
He's wearing the number 8 jersey tonight. It's probably going to be Enzo Fernandez wearing it during the tournament. Barco will wear 24, which is what Enzo's got on tonight. Right by Almada. Right for Lo Celso. That close. Not sure what Melendez was up to there, trying to play out in trouble. And the penalty's been awarded for the foul, which was committed inside the box. Lo Celso coming so close to the opener, but Argentina now have an opportunity from about 10 yards closer because of a clumsy bit of play from Christopher Melendez.
There's a reason as to why Lo Celso wants to take the shot with his left foot, which he did so very well off the crossbar and out. I mean, he was scrambling, he was never going to get there, and then Tagliafico, after the missed clearance from Melendez, Tagliafico is able to regain possession of the ball. And as Melendez tries to make a challenge, kind of dangles his leg out there, does make some contact, steps on Tagliafico. It is a foul. It is a penalty. Some would say it's a penaltito. maybe the referee is going to take a look at it.
I wonder if there's a handball in here as well, and I think that might be what Melendez was complaining about. Let's see what we have here.
Oh boy.
VAR's helping out with the location of the foul.
If it's indeed a foul, it was inside the 18-yard box from Melendez. And you called it correctly. It was clumsy challenge, unnecessary challenge from Christopher Melendez. And it comes from his own turnover, his own failure to clear the danger.
Penalty. "36 goals and 75 caps." Lautaro Martinez. Slightly off-putting when you see the back of the net kind of only goes halfway along where the actual stanchion is, but anyway, it's by the bars. It's Lautaro Martinez against Edric Menjivar. And it's 1-0 Argentina. 37th international goal for Lautaro. Applause from Messi and co. And the deadlock is broken in College Station.
Of the players that could really take advantage of a game like this one, it would be Lautaro Martinez. Takes it so well. While Menjivar gets it the right way, there's a whole lot of power behind it. Maybe gets the slightest touch on it, maybe not. It goes into the back of the net. Well taken. As for Christopher Melendez, failure to clear the danger to begin with, and then clumsy challenge that catches the top of the foot of Tagliafico. It is a penalty, well taken by Lautaro Martinez, 1-0.
He does, with hindsight, have the opportunity just to get rid. He clearly thinks he has the ability to take a touch and get beyond his man, which he didn't. Foul. Lo Celso, the penalty awarded. Deadlock broken. Lautaro for his 37th international. Ready for Giuliano, who's back on the right-hand side now. Barco, Palacios, and Almada gets it back.
Well, maybe the coaching staff was listening to us, and then they passed on the information to Lionel Scaloni. Simeone on the left-hand side just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They may have tried it, didn't work. Let's get him back to the right-hand side.
Yeah, this is the place to try it, either this game or against Iceland. Try something a little bit different, but I doubt we'll be seeing him on the left during the World Cup. Just watching a conversation here between Barco and Yai. The right back getting forward, and Barco's like, I got you. Just sat a little bit deeper.
This is when the understanding with Simeone has to be very clear. If Hiai is taking the wide area, then Simeone has got to come inside. If Simeone goes wide, then Hiai can work the inside channel. But that only comes with playing together. And let me just tell you, it can't happen if Simeone is on the left-hand side.
The hardest workers in La Liga. A number of occasions last season with Atleti, he would come back and help either Marcos Llorente or Manuel Molina. There's a why you do all these drills, Honduras, in training. Because you've got the ball, it's because you're defending against a team with a lot of possession. If he'd continued, he actually stopped a little bit. If he'd continued the run that Lo Celso thought he was going to make, Lautaro, then it might have been different.
I think, and I'm going to go into Lautaro Martinez's head at this point. Once Lo Celso took the touch that he took, it felt like the touch was further back than what Lautaro Martinez wanted. Therefore, I believe Lautaro Martinez thought the angle was gone and there was no space for him to attack at that point. Hence why he stayed in between the two center backs looking for a different angle for to support Lo Celso and make the pass for Lo Celso easier.
There's been no further video evidence of Lionel Messi on the big screen, so the noise you can hear in the background is the wave which is being attempted around Kyle Field. Good from Giuliano. Good through ball for Lautaro and good goalkeeping from Menjivar.
It's a bad first touch from Lautaro Martinez that allows Menjivar to come out and get the ball. Beautiful builder from Argentina. Good look into Lautaro Martinez, and he knows that if he takes a good first touch, he's scoring the second goal, but that first touch got away from him and allowed Menjivar to come out and cut out the danger.
Winner of the Scudetto again, Internacional. Luis Palma hasn't seen much of the ball so far, but he's got a lot of quality playing his football in Poland. He'd like to go a fair distance here, but he's got that tendency rather than pass.
He could have found the space out wide 10 seconds before that. Decided to run, and then eventually he ran out of space, and then the space was also gone for Christopher Melendez. Then you try to swing the ball in, that gets blocked, and the opportunity gone.
There's a lot of threat on either flank attacking for Honduras. Rivas, who wins the throw on this left-hand side, Moncada on the right. Just giving them supply. Appeals for a handball, not given. Back in by Maldonado now. The counter is on with Lautaro. He's got to switch it, and he's got to do so early, and he does. Lo Celso. I'm not sure Almada thought that was the right decision, away to his left.
Almada could have helped Lautaro Martinez, as Lautaro Martinez runs away down the right-hand side, and he looked up initially. Thiago Almada, instead of taking a more central position, he was still hanging out on the left-hand side, which then forces Lo Celso to be the one that covers that space. If Almada comes and gets closer to Lautaro Martinez, then Lautaro Martinez has an initial pass towards the middle, and then Lo Celso can cover the left-hand side.
Super crowd in attendance for this one. Biggest college stadiums in the United States, capacity of 102,733. Palacios. Barco. It's perfect. Caliafico. It's the corner of Melendez. Second of the game, the Albi Celeste. Argentina in Group J at the World Cup, so they'll be one of the last teams to play their first game. early call from Rigoberto Rivas. Almada. Good ball. It's a nice little flick by Giuliano, but Mendjivar was in the right place at the right time. Good move, though. Nice piece of skill by Rosales. 4 added minutes. Corner kick brought to you by Enterprise.
I wonder if Simeone is aware of Lisandro Martinez behind him, because if he just lets this ball go, Lisandro Martinez has a tap in. As an attacking player, you're thinking you're the only one who can score. Tries to go with the back heel, doesn't make the contact that he wants, still 1-0.
You're in that position, you hear that shout, you're doing exactly what was just done by Giuliano.
I don't know what shout you're talking about.
It's not a free kick, and he's told to get up again.
And it didn't quite work out in that sequence, but that sort of run from Giuliano Simeone, it creates chaos. It creates tension for defenders because he is so vertical, he'll get after defenders. Again, didn't quite work out in that particular sequence, but it does, I think, unbalance what a team is trying to do defensively.
And Rigoberto Rivas just lacking the quality with the delivery in. So we're heading towards 90 seconds into the 4 added minutes. Road to 26 with Turkish Airlines replay. Nothing doing with that. How would you assess what you've seen from Argentina in this first half?
Just about what I expected. A lot of possession in the attacking half. They've created a couple of chances, scored a goal. Probably haven't been as goal dangerous as they would want it to be. But all in all, I think it has been a useful exercise so far.
Sloppy from Arriaga, picked up by Almada. The cross doesn't reach its intended destination, but it does allow Argentina to get their third corner and Lo Celso to go over to them. What an effort! And that took Mendjivar by surprise. And Lisandro Martinez, who wanted the ball left by Giuliano a couple of minutes ago, does this.
That took Lisandro Martinez by surprise. It makes no sense to try this in this sort of circumstance, as he is facing completely away from goal, but the ball had dip. It had Mendjivar scrambling a bit. Good effort. It makes for something to talk about, but really it was not goal dangerous.
It was audacious.
Yeah, creative, athletic, productive, not so much.
Never scored an overhead kick from inside the 6-yard box.
Yes, and outside the 6-yard box as well.
You doing outside the 6-yard box?
That's a different question.
Here's not doing that. Rivas. Great work by Barco. He's had a good first half.
Yeah, he has.
The first couple of minutes when he saw the ball 3 or 4 times, just energetic. He's always been like that. They played him at left back. They played him at left midfield. He's playing that central left role in midfield tonight, but his energy is outstanding. That'll do us for a first half that sees Argentina with the lead given to them from the penalty spot by Lautaro Martinez in the 37th minute. Lo Celso's effort from outside the box hit the bar. Melendez with the foul, trying to clear it. Penalty kick was awarded, and after a 2.5-minute delay, that man got his 37th goal for his country. And the former Spain goalkeeper, Jose Molina, now in charge of Honduras, sees his team trailing
half-time by 1 goal to nil. He blows the whistle. It is a friendly, so he could still potentially change nationality back to the US, but we're underway for the second half. It's a debut for Keirol Figueroa, and we are seeing Facundo Medina and Rodrigo de Paul on for Argentina. Speaking beforehand about just make sure everyone comes through unscathed. From an Argentina perspective, ahead of their World Cup opener against Algeria, Tuesday the 16th in Kansas City. Don't see any need for that to change. Nice little flick from Lautaro, and they move it quickly to the left-hand side. This could be an opportunity for a second goal, and very close. Really nice move, and Almada unable to apply the finishing touch, but he did get some sort of touch.
Beautiful touch, really, and I look for Facundo Medina. His first participation and involvement in the game finds the run of Almada, and I'm thinking Thiago Almada doesn't need to take it first time. He actually had more time than he realized. He could have brought the ball down and give himself a better opportunity. Rushed the attempt, didn't make the contact that he wanted, still 1-0. Imagine that Facundo Medina has come on the field for Nicolás Tagliafico. And I'm thinking that Rodrigo de Paul came on the field for Valentin Barco.
He did indeed. Argentina on the front foot to begin this second half. Medina can also play as a centre-back, has done for Boca. So he's a left-back tonight. Rodrigo de Paul, Messi's teammate at Inter Miami, former teammate Juliano at Atletico Madrid.
Can I tell you, these are important minutes for Rodrigo de Paul.
Sure.
For people that may follow Inter Miami and those that may not, let me just tell you, he hasn't had the best of seasons with Inter Miami. And by saying that he hasn't had the best of seasons, I really mean there have been moments in which Rodrigo de Paul has been underwhelming. And I think some of it has to do with the fact they won the title last year. It almost feels like job done with Inter Miami, and he was looking ahead to the World Cup, and there wasn't a whole lot of investment in the early part of this season by Rodrigo de Paul in his individual performances with Inter Miami. Well, here we are, days away from the start of the World Cup, and Argentina, and in particular, Lionel Messi, need the best of Rodrigo de Paul if they're going to be successful in this tournament.
There's been a common theme for anybody that's come to Major League Soccer over the years. Those who buy into it have usually been successful. Those that don't, they don't always last.
It felt like he bought into it last season and closed the season really well with Inter Miami, scored a goal in MLS Cup. But the start of the season has been very uneven for Rodrigo de Paul, and I suppose you can make that same argument for all of Inter Miami. But his performances individually, you're expecting a whole lot more.
So what?
And Argentina are going to need a whole lot more than what he has given Inter Miami so far this season.
A foul on Keirol Figueroa and the yellow for Lautaro, who had that challenge on Derek Moncada in the first half that he got away with. He didn't get away with this. Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, that'll do it. He's late, comes over the top of the ball. Thiago Almada has more time. He's unable to bring the ball down. If he just takes a correct touch with it,
just stretching. It's a good move.
I think he can bring the ball down, and if he brings the ball down, then he gives himself a real opportunity. It wasn't the best touch on the ball.
'86th cap for Rodrigo de Paul. Nice switch. Medina. Almada to Palacios. Bit of space here for Lo Celso. Juliano.
Big chance.
Oh,
Awful attempt by Thiago Almada.
Oh, mommy. I think he's surprised he has so much time. That he's allowed and afforded the opportunity to turn. It's almost as if it's no longer instincts taking over. It's like, why am I so open? Why am I so open? I guess I have to rush. At some point, they're going to come and close me down. And eventually, he gets it all wrong.
He had a underwhelming first season at Atletico Madrid following his move from Botafogo. A lot of talk that is one and done in Spain, and he might be on the move again. Seen Atleti, if you're not going to be an integral part of their future plans, they'll make sure they don't lose money on you. They'll either get what they paid, 21 million, or a little profit. They'll not hang around any players that they seem as potentially surplus to requirements.
What I would say about his performance with Atletico Madrid this season, one, injuries were a problem, but
yes,
beyond that, I don't think he ever really found what his role was in the team.
Nope, I don't know what position he was best at in that setup.
Correct. And so it's almost as if he's like, well, it's not quite a winger type, but he's not really an underneath guy. So he's not a guy that can have just freedom to do whatever he wants. And if it's not well defined with Simeone, he's not going to go out of his way to define it for you.
The first bit was good by Rosales, the second bit not so much. Even tonight for Thiago Almada, he's kind of sometimes drifting, sometimes playing central. Right now he's kind of playing in that advanced 8, kind of 10 role. It's a nasty little clip of Lo Celso's heels by Luis Palma, who's not known for his tackling. And neither is that man, Daniel Maldonado.
Similar to Lisandro Martinez, he's late, the ball is already gone. It's clearly foul and a yellow card. For a guy like Thiago Almada, not just to, I'm not trying to drive the point home here or anything, but you would expect him to dominate games like tonight, for example. That he would be able to really stand out above some of these defending players from Honduras. And yeah, he's had a couple of moments, but you never really get the sense of, man, this guy is something else. At least not based on what we have seen today or what we saw with Atletico Madrid.
Here's Rodrigo de Paul trying to be the conductor of the orchestra. Lautaro. Juliano had made the run through. Has to reset, makes another run. Lautaro. Casa gets there first, and the heavy touch. Throw in for Argentina. It's a good bit of pressure, this. The Albiceleste. It's intricate, but it needs to be an end product.
It's intricate, and it's very central. So there isn't a whole lot of space in that part of the field, and there isn't a whole lot of width to Argentina, which then makes it easier for Honduras to defend.
Finally, a bit of width. Almada drifting. Say one thing about Jose Molina, he's got his Honduras team very well drilled. They know the roles. Behind for Lautaro, little back flick. Chance for Juliano, it's 2. Lovely goal.
If you remember in the first half, Mark, I talked about skipping the pass out wide and finding the pass inside towards Lautaro Martinez. And it is in that movement of Lautaro Martinez and the recognition of the space by Giuliano Simeone coming from the right-hand side, far more natural for him to go from outside to in, the layoff from Lautaro Martinez, the run from Simeone, the initial run of Lautaro Martinez that opens the space centrally that is well recognized and sorted out and picked out by Giuliano Simeone. Little back heel action, good finish, 2-0. Well built by Argentina and well-deserved goal by Giuliano Simeone.
Yeah, super goal, super assist, and a super finish. Enzo's about to come on. A lot of Argentina fans in attendance. Trying to see if that's the only change that our team is going to make. If you see Messi, you probably don't see him until later on. Honduras ball. The first 10 minutes of the second half, Argentina were very good. Christian Romero, Alexis McAllister, they're not exactly weakening their team. Final instructions from Walter Samuel, who's one of Lionel Scaloni's assistants, along with Pablo Aimar and Roberto Ayala. Talented quartet as players. Wouldn't mess with Walter Samuel, though.
I'm sure you could have a pretty competitive coaching match.
Yeah, right.
Before or after practice. A little small-sided game with the coaching staff.
I loved watching Aimar in that Valencia team in the early 2000s.
We're a long way from that with Valencia nowadays.
Oh dear. They're trying to sell this Nuevo Mestalla as the only show in town. We want Messi is the cry from the Argentina supporters in attendance, and probably the Honduras fans as well.
Yeah. The fans at the stadium cannot hear me, but I would suggest that I wouldn't hold my breath.
No, and if you get a glimpse of him on the field, it shall not be for long. If. Wide by Rodrigo de Paul. He's kind of taken up that role that you asked him to.
Here's the thing with Thiago Almada. He's taking more of a central position here, right? And he's a guy that is supposed to give you some width down the left-hand side. If he's tucked all the way in, that means that Medina has to give you the width down the left. The problem is that I don't think Thiago Almada is such a good player in tight spaces that he becomes very useful to you in those underneath spaces consistently. So
nice back heel by Palacios. A lot of players involved in this move. Medina was taken late by Melendez. Play on, Almada's layoff. And Lo Celso denied by the block. They look like they're going to create something every time they come forward, Argentina, in this second half. Been very lively.
Now that was a whole lot better from Thiago Almada. It was 1 and 2 touches, and more importantly, there was movement. Once he laid the ball off, there was actually a change of pace to get into open space in behind the Honduras back line.
Just dropping short and picking up space right across the face, and the header is somehow stopped. The danger not yet over. And eventually Honduras get it away to Moncada. Figueroa. He's got a man inside. If he could have got it through, that could have been an opportunity. But now with a couple of bodies forward, they might be in position to be taken advantage of. But Argentina still.
He was so concerned about the 3 defenders that were on him that was unable to get his head up and pick out the run, the supporting run coming from behind.
hour gone. Argentina 2-0 up. Looking good. Rodrigo de Paul. Just over the head of Lautaro and back by Melendez. Have you noticed anything different from the way Argentina have gone about their business in these 15 minutes of the second half compared to what we saw for the majority of the first half?
Quicker movement of the ball, and a lot more balls actually going forward first and then coming back rather than sideways and back. When you do that, then you push Honduras further back, which then allows the underneath spaces to be operated by guys like Almada when he comes into that space. Lo Celso, who has been really good on the turn. The fact that you have the presence on Rodrigo de Paul from deeper then frees up Lo Celso to go and combine in more advanced positions, and then all the activity that you get down the right-hand side from Simeone.
Six changes, 7 changes, 8 changes, 4 for each side. We'll speak to you again in 20 minutes. And no, Messi's not one. Here we go.
Good luck, Mark.
Thank you. See you again shortly. Godspeed. It's just numbers, isn't it? It's like a bingo contest. Do this as they come on. I would have liked to see a little bit more of Derek Moncada. The look of this kid. This is an 18-year-old who I think we'll see a bit more of. Moncada's off. Rodriguez is off. Arriaga's off. McAllister coming on, off going Lo Celso. I have to say, it's a lot better when they do it all at once, like this, rather than drips and drabs. Thankfully, these substitution windows have helped a lot. Of course, Lisandro Martinez.
At this point, I don't know whether you're talking to me or you're talking to yourself.
Neither do I. Been in the house. And we're back underway with 22 players on the field. And here's one of them. Enzo's on for Thiago Almada. Just while we were talking about maybe the better second half. Here come Honduras. Bodies forward. Not the best option. His teammates are letting him know that.
The fact that we actually use the name of Flaco Lopez. Love that.
Will we stick with Josema, or will we go Jose Manuel, give him his full name, or just Jose, or will we go Flaco?
Well, yeah, apparently it's Flaco Lopez.
It was Josh McGinn playing for Scotland earlier. John was unaware his name had been changed.
Flaco Lopez.
Let's stick with Jose Manuel Lopez, shall we? The Palmeiras striker. And they're still going. Subs were 3 minutes ago. Rodrigo de Paul with a diagonal, looking for Giuliano. This is when you might have a chance to capitalise on the opposition, having made 4 changes. Not quite gelling just yet. Everybody trying to figure out where they're playing. Is this Argentina's back two, the 2 centre backs for their opener, Otamendi and Romero?
I imagine so, though if you had asked me that same question following the 2022 World Cup, I would not have thought that Otamendi would be around for this World Cup. And yet, give him credit. As a player, and with all his experience at 38 years old, he's still throwing his body around. He's still effective enough to play at a high level. I do think that isolated in 1v1 situations, you can take advantage of his lack of speed at this point in his career. He can be reckless with his challenges. He was that even when he was younger. Cuti Romero is also a very reckless player and had a reckless season with Spurs. I don't think Lisandro Martinez is an improvement on that either. He too can be reckless, had a reckless challenge in the first half today. My concern would be is who is the common influence in that center back position? Who is the one organizing? Who takes a leadership role? And I suppose it would have to be Nicolas Otamendi. So I took the cynic route, so I'll just go ahead and say, yeah, probably this is your starting back line for Argentina in the center back position anyways.
You still got there quicker than the teams got to where they needed to be, having come out onto the pitch at the start. They walked along the line and then eventually took their positions for the national. Enzo. His World Cup squad number is 8.
Although when you start sort of reading signs, you're kind of thinking, okay, well, if Otamendi is your starting center back, why is he on the field right now? Does that then mean that he is completely off in the game against Iceland and he doesn't play a minute as he is fully prepared for Algeria? These are the calculations that players are making.
Yeah, they're trying to work things out.
But they're working things out as the decisions are being made by coaches. And I'm trying to put myself in the mind of Otamendi saying, okay, why am I still out here? It must mean that I'm not playing against Iceland, which then in turn means that I'm potentially starting against Algeria.
Rodrigo de Paul. Away by Luis Vega. Didn't get enough on it, Alexis McAllister. Good footwork, just run out of room. Cooling break is brought to you by Celsius. I think the one thing we've definitely learned tonight is that it is not a good idea to play Giuliano on the left.
Now, does that look like a player who's about to come on the field? I don't think so.
I think those minutes might be against Iceland.
Yeah.
Tickets have been sold, seats are sat on. I don't think it was done in any way to try and maximise the crowd. He was honest. Scaloni, he said, look, we'll get some minutes either against Honduras or against Iceland. And of course, you show up, you bring the kids, you want to see Messi. He may get some game time at the end, but we don't know. It's the opening goal from the penalty spot after a clumsy challenge by Melendez and Caliafico. This is a lovely goal.
Yes, it is. It's up, back and through. Good movement away from the ball from Lautaro Martinez. Unselfish play, intelligent play in recognizing the movement of Giuliano Simeone. Also intelligent play from Simeone in understanding where the space was going to be for him. Good little layup, and then the finish from Giuliano Simeone. 2-0.
Does the World Cup excite you as a football fan? And I'm asking this question as someone whose nation hasn't qualified since '98 and '02 2006, 2010, 2014, 2018, 2022. I tried to enjoy it as a football fan because my nation wasn't there. How do you, as a Venezuela former player, countryman, fan, look at this World Cup?
I love the World Cup. Love the World Cup. That's why it bothers me so much that we haven't made it yet.
Yeah.
Because I would want us to have the feeling that these fans from Argentina have, and the fans from Scotland, and those that are preparing for the World Cup have, that anticipation, that sense of belonging in the big time, if you will, being part of the big dance. It's no fun being on the outside looking in, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the World Cup. I certainly do. And some of my best memories of my time with my father and my brother was traveling in the '98 World Cup all over France, in which, by the way, I got to see our colleague Craig Burley playing for Scotland against Brazil. And so in that sense, I love the World Cup. As any fan that enjoys this sport, and I want to get behind collecting the cards. I want to fill up the album. I want to watch the games. I want the drama. I want all of it. I also would want all of it with my country in it.
Yeah, sure.
I certainly would prefer that, but yeah, I love the World Cup.
There's a yellow card for Medina. The game earlier today, Bolivia against Scotland, the second half was a non-entity. The first half was a good watch. The danger is when you make the changes at half-time, but this hasn't been like that. The changes were good. They didn't decrease the quality of the respective sides. The energy level is still there. But to both sides for that, could they put him on the left again?
Let's assume it's because of changes in personnel.
Okay.
They have to know that he is so much better and so much more comfortable on the right-hand side, Simeone. Because even in the run that ended up in his goal, that movement outside to in, that is so natural to him when he's playing on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's able to recognize that from the left-hand side, because you don't see the field from the same sort of angle.
Cut inside and score a golazo. Golazos. Rodrigo de Paul. I'm sure Luis Palma just sitting off him is a good idea. Palma right now is just running around. Not as quick as he was in the first half. Corner kick, Alexis McAllister.
Alexis McAllister could use a few productive minutes to lift up his level of play. He was one of the many players at Liverpool this season that underperformed. And much like Rodrigo de Paul, he's going to have to elevate. He's going to have to elevate his level of play in the World Cup.
This corner kick is brought to you by Enterprise. It's the fourth of the game for Argentina. Taken by Rodrigo de Paul, but like the previous ones, Honduras have defended them well. They've given him so much space, and he can hit them. Strangely enough, even though it's his 86th cap, I would have taken the over if someone had offered me 3 international goals for Rodrigo de Paul. He's only scored 2.
Earlier in his career, Rodrigo de Paul was a far more attacking-minded midfielder than what he has become over the last, I'm going to suggest, 4 or 5 years.
That's age. He's 32 now. Axel Witsel, if he played much longer, would have been in goals. teammate of Rodrigo de Paul, Athletic. What's the furthest back you ever played in a game?
Right around where Rodrigo de Paul is right now. And I knew my time was coming to an end when that happened.
You just see a game very differently though from that position. Behind for Lautaro.
It's quite boring back there, let me just tell you. And it's all sideways and back, and let me just find the wide ball to the right back and the left back, and net. That's not for me.
Somebody somewhere has got the Messi 10 jersey, as far as probably the kit man. But as to whether or not it will be given to Lionel, to wear, to come on, remains to be seen. More changes to come, including a change in goal. Silva Beltran, come on. Doing his first cap as the plate goalkeeper. Honduras making some changes as well. A couple of the other youngsters, Nicolas Capaldo, Tomas Aranda. Aranda also making his debut, the 19-year-old from Boca. Capaldo, who plays for Hamburg, wins his first cap as well.
Eventually.
Yeah, once we work out which numbers. No, 15. No, he's not. He's 3. That says 5. 15's already been brought on. We're not bringing him off. 8 and 3. Okay, that might work because Joseph Rosales had a good first half. He is being replaced. No, not you, the other one. You, yeah, you. Christian Canales is coming on. You know, the two Argentina outfielders and the goalie are like, okay. Be a minimum of 25 minutes added to it. I think the referee's just like, look, can we just take this free kick and then we can make the changes afterwards? Delivery from Jose Reyes. This is Luis Palma, who leaves it for a corner. Honduras is first. Extra couple of minutes for Juan Musso to try and keep a clean sheet. Jeffrey Miranda. Roberto Rivas. And that was almost. Back to the subs. Hello, Ali.
Ah, boy. I'm not doing the math correctly. I don't think I have enough Honduras players in my sheet here.
Who'd have thunk it that the number 10 in blue and white that played tonight was Luis Palma, not Lionel Messi. So far. The referee spotted something there and brings it back, stops Honduras in their tracks. And back to this. Honduras are going to change, and Hivar, the goalkeeper, will be replaced on his placement. Guiti. For Argentina, Beltran replaces Juan Musso. It's just all names and numbers now, isn't it?
Yeah, this is out of control.
The number 10 in blue and white goes off. We got a 6 and a 26. The players don't even know. Just go on. Hold on, don't come off yet. Luis Ortiz.
Sure.
Plays for Motagua.
I played against Motagua.
CONCACAF Champions League.
Yep.
How'd you do?
I believe tied 1-1 in Tegucigalpa, and then won in LA, the LA Galaxy, and advanced.
My favourite memory of the CONCACAF Champions League was doing a game late at night with Shaka Hislop, and someone in their wisdom had chosen the second leg, not the first leg, between Alpha United and Herediano. The first leg was 8-0.
Oh.
The second leg was a difficult sell. If they get an early goal, you never know. Flash of legs and a free kick away. Gives us time to get back to the subs. Gabriel Aranda has come on for Ezequiel Palacios. Thomas Aranda, his name is on the team sheet. How many players have you got each side now?
No, I gave up, Mark. I leave it to you.
Well, the hardest worker of the match, presented by Lowe's Home Improvement, is you and I for trying to get these. It's not really. Who is your Lowe's Home Improvement hardest worker of the match?
Oh boy, I'm gonna give it to. A goal and assist for Lautaro Martinez is good, but given that it is the hardest working, I'm gonna go with Giuliano Simeone. Scored a nice goal and was dangerous, particularly when he was on the right-hand side. I think he gives his team a different element and a sense perhaps of chaos in the attack that creates difficulties defensively for other teams, and I think that was in full display today against Honduras.
I think someone, if he'd stayed on the pitch, who would have been in contention for your hardest worker would be Valentin Barco.
He may have been,
but he went off after,
and so doesn't qualify.
It's in the rules. It's now becoming the second half that we saw between Bolivia and Scotland earlier, whereby it's just stop-start because of changes and all sorts. But for the first hour, there's plenty of positives for Lionel Scaloni.
Can I tell you a random story about Tegucigalpa?
Please.
When we went and played Motagua, I didn't realize this in Tegucigalpa, but as we're about to land in Tegucigalpa, pilot comes on and says, this is a different approach than the usual.
Okay.
And we are highly trained for this. And
that's never good.
And you're kind of thinking, wait a minute, what are we talking about here? And sure enough, the plane kind of goes on an embankment kind of thing and kind of goes into a valley, and it's a pretty rough landing. It's a short landing at the runway there in Tegucigalpa. And what I thought was more concerning than anything else is that as you are then taxiing in what is a very short runway, you see the leftovers of what obviously was a plane that did not stop on time. I hope by now they've removed it, but there was a plane who clearly had issues landing in Tegucigalpa. So if you're ever going to land in Tegucigalpa, know that it's a different approach than the usual stuff.
Good to know. Joaquin Freitas on for Nicolas Otamendi. Rodrigo. Five to go, plus added time. First involvement for Freitas. Paldo's kind of playing on the left-hand side in front of Medina. Alexis McAllister's now more central. Jose Manuel Lopez still leading the line. Just giving a wee shot because he can. First cap for the Palmeiras striker. World Cup as well for Julian.
Where's Julian Alvarez going to play next season? There's a question.
I have to say I've been enjoying Atleti's tweets.
They're entertaining, they're enjoyable. However, I don't know how much of a hard stance they can take if the player then says, yeah, I don't want to be here.
Can Barcelona afford him?
Well, I don't know that. That's a completely different question. The math for Barcelona is different than the math I was taught in school. But assuming that they can, if the player comes to Atletico Madrid and says, yeah, this whole thing with Simeone is not for me, then even though your tweets have been very interesting and enjoyable and funny if you are Atletico Madrid, it may end up that that's out of your control. So I'll repeat the question, Mark. Where is Julian Alvarez playing next season?
Atleti.
All right, here you go.
Not to say he doesn't end up at Barcelona one day, but
all right. That's all right. You don't have to qualify to come in. You've made your position clear.
Just wonder who the replacement for Lewandowski will be. Already got Anthony Gordon providing the service. Will they go back in for Rashford? Lamin's obviously got his position wrapped up.
That's another thing that doesn't make sense. They go and get Anthony Gordon, spending 50 million more than it would have cost them to just keep Marcus Rashford. And in a player that is going to occupy a very similar position. And oh, by the way, I don't think either one of them, if everyone's healthy, starts for Barcelona.
Yeah, one bid quickly accepted. That's a decent hit from Tomás Aranda and a good save from Luis Ortiz.
Now they both feel like they participated in the game. Aranda takes it on the inside, tries to bend it out far post. Ortiz gets a good save on it, good hand on it. Corner kick.
Go to 26 with Turkish Airlines. And the man that had the strike, Tomás Aranda, takes the corner. Got up, couldn't keep it down though. Romero. He's a threat from set plays, but he can also be a threat to his own goalkeeper in his own box.
Can be a threat to blow up a locker room too. His behavior this season with Spurs was something else, let me tell you. The team was struggling to stay up, and he took off for Argentina. Now, Now, his behavior, not great, but the fact that Spurs allow him to do it, that's not great either. Now, some would say, well, he was injured, he wasn't going to play, but that's not the point. If you're a leader within a team and the team is struggling, there's an expectation that you have to be part of the group, not just take off to Argentina and then nurse whatever injury you had away from your club team when your club team is about to go down.
I think we see something similar between Argentina and Iceland on Tuesday that we've seen tonight.
I think that will be the dress rehearsal, and we'll see something closer to what the actual starting lineup against Algeria will be.
Capaldo goes into the book.
That'll do it. I mean, he went after the ball, got a minor touch on the ball, but got a whole lot of Honduras there.
Yeah, players seem to have forgotten that it's no longer a case of winning the ball is acceptable and it should be considered a fair challenge. That law changed many years ago. For a consolation, Honduras put up a good fight. They've been well organised tonight. Opened up for him, Jose Reyes.
Can I give a quick shout out to my roommate, beloved roommate with the LA Galaxy, who's watching the game right now and listen to my story about Motagua when we went to Tegucigalpa, and he thought exactly about the same thing. Gavin Clinton, I hope my guy is doing great. Just send me a text message.
It's probably just brought him back flashbacks.
It wasn't a great landing, let me tell you.
We're concerned about the pieces of the plane that you were visible out the window.
Gavin Clinton and I lived together in an apartment in Burbank, California.
Sounds glamorous.
It was not. I can attest and assure you that it was not.
Has Lionel Scaloni learned anything tonight, especially from the first hour?
No, I think it's just a useful exercise, and you got what you wanted out of Giuliano Simeone, you got what you wanted again from Lautaro Martinez. Got some young players in, some made their debut, some got additional experience. More importantly, nobody got hurt. Useful minutes for a guy like Rodrigo De Paul and Alexis McAllister. Again, what you want out of this match is get repetition, get useful minutes. It's been all of that for Argentina. It's been a dominant performance as we expected it to be. Not as goal dangerous as I would have wanted them to be, but nonetheless 2-0 and comfortable.
Yeah, they don't play until Tuesday the 16th in their first group game, so a stronger lineup, a bit more intensity perhaps in Auburn on Tuesday against Iceland. Second goal was just a lovely, well worked. Just joining us. First was from the spot.
There's also something to be said about the fact that you're getting closer to the World Cup, so players will go through the exercise but knowing full well that, all right, no need to take any chances or risk, and it's the same approach that Lionel Scaloni would take, hence why Lionel Messi didn't play today.
It'll do us no Messi, but no problem for Argentina. Winners by 2-0. Messi was on the bench, but not risked, and likely to get some minutes. He certainly won't start against Iceland on Tuesday. Good workout. Scaloni and Jose Molina, respective coaches. Taro's penalty.